Hi, welcome to the Sketchbox. Today we're going to be talking about the 90s band from Little Rock, Arkansas, Everyone Asked About You. I found this band from a Frog Skateboards video. I can't remember which one, but throughout this series I'm sure I'll talk about more bands that I found from skate videos. They have some really good music in them, and I found a lot of my music taste through them. I find the band's songs to be very soothing and wholesome, but also very powerful and heartfelt at times. Their lead vocalist sounds very unique for an emo band, like if Nim and Kitty Craft merged together or something. The microphones have a very vintage tinge, but in the best way. And the overall sound is warm and fuzzy. It's like receiving a good hug from a friend, but it's an emo band. Everyone Asked About You consists of Hannah Vogan on vocals and tambourine, Chris Shepard on guitar, vocals, and keyboard, John Beachboard on keyboard, and he ended up joining the band later, Collins Kilgore on guitar and keyboard, Lee Buford on drums, Matt Bradley on bass, and he also joined later. From what I gather from this conveniently detailed numero biography of the band, Chris, Lee, and Collins met in high school through frequent jam sessions and playing Mario Kart 64. They knew they wanted to start a band, but they didn't have a bassist and weren't able to sing while playing instruments. Lee would skip school frequently to hang out at the benches of Kavanaugh, and one day he met Hannah Vogan. From talking to her, he learned that she had been taking opera singing lessons, so he asked her to join the band. After they found a singer, they needed a name. Lee found the name while looking at children's books and finding Theodore Farrow Gross and Sheila White Sampton's 1990 Ode to Friendship, Everyone Asked About You. Apparently long song titles were trendy at the time, so they decided to have a longer than usual band name. It's funny looking back at this because now we have so many bands that are named full sentences, especially in the emo genre. According to the other members of the band, Lee served as an integral part of the songwriting process, design, and also released some of their music with his label Landmark Records. Their first self-titled EP released in 1997 under Landmark Records was a great start to their discography. After playing their first few shows, they decided to record 6 songs in 2 days in Barry Pointer's garage studio, 4 of which would end up on this debut EP. The songs on it are very lovey-dovey like a lot of their music. The second track describes an intimate confession of love in the 3/4 time signature, accompanied with a section of climactic distortion towards the end and some epic drum fills to top it all off. I really like the fast guitars accompanied by joyful lyrics about a beloved summer on the track It's Days Like This. The sound is really unique to my knowledge of emo music at the time. Though the lyrics can feel childish, they were in high school at the time, so it makes sense. And in my opinion, there's a novelty to these simplistic lyrics found in the delivery. It feels a lot more optimistic for emo music, but it still has that emotional tone and distorted guitars we all know and love. In 1998, they came out with a split EP featuring the band The Shyness Clinic under Amulet Records. The split features a really good track called I Will Wait. The split includes the other 2 songs recorded in their first few studio sessions, and for some reason I couldn't find this one on streaming services, but the tracks appear on their later release compilation. Following the split came a 7-inch comically titled Sometimes Memory Fails Me Sometimes through Drawing Room Records. This features my favorite song by them and the song that introduced me to their music, and it shares the same name as the record. The track features nicely spaced, bright guitar riffs, and the 2 vocalists harmonize perfectly on this nearly 5-minute masterpiece. They sing about the sweet intricacies of being in love with someone and the little things that make them unique. It's a very wholesome song that just feels very endearing all around. When you tilt your head up to the The other track on the record is a sad song, but it's very poetic, repeating the mantra, paper airplanes, paper hearts, always wind up torn apart, which they would name their later compilation. I interpret this mantra as meaning if you're focused on your own insecurities, it can push others away. Apparently the title is actually taken from the name of another song, but I couldn't find the song or the band that made that song, so let me know if you guys find it in the comments below. This is definitely my favorite release of theirs, so that's why I wanted to go more in depth into the lyrics. I hope I didn't botch it too much, I just wanted to share my interpretation. Anyways, I think that it's really cool how the band was able to make such good songs at such a young age and just starting out as a band. By the tail end of 1998, most people in their high school scene were moving on to college or moving away for other reasons. They were the older kids in the scene now, but this wasn't the end of the band yet. Chris ended up going to college for a year or so, but still keeping up with the band, and this time they found a bassist from Hot Springs. His name was Matt Bradley. He was about 4 years older than the other members and fresh out of a punk band. He admitted the age difference was strange at that age, but he liked the band, and after practicing and commuting to Little Rock for a while, he eventually moved in with Chris. Collins was feeling a little bit overwhelmed playing both guitar and keys at their shows, and they wanted to have a live sound that fit to their newer recording, so they ended up getting a keys player at this time. His name was John Beachboard, an eager kid from Conway, Arkansas that was interning for Landmark Records. He had no experience playing a synth, but was excited about the band and willing to fill any role. He has a really good quote in the Numero article saying, "I always considered Everyone Asked About You to be Lee's band, but Chris's story." I think this quote holds a lot of merit because Lee was doing a lot of the footwork behind the scenes, and he was a big proponent to their success at the time, but he also needed Chris and Hannah to put their personalities and verbose writing styles into these heartfelt compositions. During the summer of '99, the band went on their first tour. They recount the tour as being a great time for the band, and they played one DIY show in a packed barn venue. On the way to one of their last stops in Chapel Hill, another van was driving next to them. A passenger in the other van held up a sign saying, "Let's be enemies," to which they replied with a sign saying, "Okay." The people in the instigating van started shooting bottle rockets at their van. The band responded by throwing a slice of cake at their van. Not long after, the timing belt on the van gave out, leaving the band stranded on the interstate for a while. A few hours later, they show up to the venue, and the same kids that were in that van were on stage. Their name was Oxes, a math rock band from Baltimore. This experience inspired the title of their first album, Let's Be Enemies. From 1998 to mid-1999, they recorded this album. I was really pleased to hear the band in a full-length setting, and their sound feels fully realized on this album. My favorite track on this one is A Song for Chris. It has this really math-rocky intro with some clean drum parts accompanied by a jittery guitar riff. The song is an ode to an active scene member named Chris Wilson. Apparently he held on to a lot of memorabilia of the scene and was the unofficial documentarian of that era in Little Rock. After dropping out of college in 1999, Chris was on a Greyhound bus to Boston to visit his long-distance girlfriend. While on the bus ride, a passenger in front of him asked if he could listen to his tapes on his Walkman. He gave him the Walkman, and after a few hours of listening to the tapes, a conversation about their destination ensued. The passenger said he was going to visit his mom, and upon Chris's reciprocation, he felt confused answering that he was visiting his girlfriend. He states that this is the first time he realized he was gay. Chris turned the moment of realization into a short story and showed his bandmates when he returned. They made it into the spoken word interlude track titled Boston that appears on the album. From what I can tell at this time, the majority of band members were going to school while the rest had other plans for their lives. The album kept getting delayed further and further, and I don't think the band wanted to sign to a big time label either, so they were at somewhat of a crossroads. Though they were able to keep a small supportive fan base in Arkansas, they weren't as well received when touring throughout the United States. At the time, people weren't really ready for their sound. Unbeknownst to the band, their last show would be on February 26th in Fayetteville, Arkansas. They had a good time playing, but after the show, Collins' gear was stolen amongst some other equipment. Chris describes this as being a major momentum killer. After that, everyone had to go their own ways, and Everyone Asked About You ceased to exist. Shepard became a swimming coach, Vogan became a nurse, Buford became the drummer for the experimental metal band The Body, who developed a devoted cult audience with their intense and unusual sound. Bradley became a production designer for Meow Wolf, the Santa Fe, New Mexico-based art collective. Beachboard opened a brewery in Little Rock, and Kilgore ended up becoming a lawyer in California. They mostly fell out of touch with one another. In 2015, Shepard saw a YouTube video of a Japanese band covering their music, and this was the start of the band realizing that people love them now more than ever. After noticing how much people were resonating with their music, one of the co-founders of Numero, Ken Shipley, decided to reach out to Lee Buford through a mutual friend. Ken asked them to play Numero's 20th reunion party with Unwound Karate. Buford was hesitant at first, but he eventually talked to the band and they were able to reunite for the show. They were all really nervous since they hadn't played in so long, but they were amazed by the great reception newer audiences gave the band. In 2023, they released a 4-track EP, and the band is now touring again. In their new music, the vocals sound a bit different and they explore some more serious topics in their maturity. I encourage you to go listen to it and support the band now. So for once, we get a happy ending to the 90s emo bands on this series. If you want to learn more about this band, I recommend going and reading the Numero biography on them. It's a lot more detailed, and I feel like I kind of used it as a blueprint for this video, so I gotta recommend that you guys read it. Like and subscribe if you feel obliged, and thanks for watching.